Welcome back, everybody. This is the last and final piece of our kit that we need to create. And oh boy, is it a tough one. I think I've got it, so we're going to give this a go, but this is what my test was a little bit earlier. This is what I came up with, and I'm going to show you how to make this part. Um, this part is called Front 2x2 Sport. So this is what we're going to make. Um, it's kind of an interesting piece. I had to run over to my nephew's house today and find another part because I thought that it connected with other things, and I was right. Kind of crazy how it works. So I'm going to show you that, and we're going to get to it. So starting with our Lego master file, we're going to save as. This is the, what's it called again? Sport something? Front 2x2 Sport. Front 2x2 Sport. Here we go. So we're going to turn off the sketch. We're going to create a sketch, and I'm going to create it on this view this time. Because really it's kind of crazy, but if you take two of these, they actually make like an arc. So if you look like this, it makes a circle. So if you were to connect them together, like two of these, I'm actually going to mirror this body so you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to mirror this body on the mirror plane right here. And now you can see kind of what's going on. It creates this circle. And then if I do another mirror of this, and I pick the mirror plane over here, see what I'm getting at when you put these together. So it makes this full circle, but this dimension from here to here is a 2x2, and it lines up right along those edges. And the same thing here. This is a 2x2. So we know that dimension right there. It's basically Lego base times 2 minus 2 kerf. And then we have two of them. And the same thing is true here. So I'm going to make a drawing that kind of sketches out what that looks like before I get started. So this is, again, kind of, I had to get a second one to confirm that this is the way these work, and this is how it works. So here's this, so we can see that piece, and then we also want to create basically a rectangle that goes inside of this, and then we're going to create a couple lines that are, a vertical line here and a horizontal line here, so we can create some symmetry on this part. We don't know what this diameter is yet, so we're going to do everything based on this. It's actually going to be a square when we're done. So we can really just say this equals this, and then we're going to constrain symmetry. We're going to do these are symmetrical about this, these are symmetrical about this, and then this diameter is, or this distance here is what we have to get right. So this is Lego base times 4 minus 4 times kerf. And you're like, how did you get that? Well, it's Lego base times 2 minus kerf for one of them, and then we just double it. So then it's Lego base times 4 minus 4 kerf, because we have 2 kerf for this piece and 2 kerf for this piece when we do it. So there's that. And then this one we're going to wait on, because everything that this is going to be based on what we have here. So this is a 45-degree angle that runs up to this to connect those. So I'm going to dimension from here to here, makes it a 135. And then I have a line that's going to go from here, the midpoint, up to here. And that distance there is full height. And look at that. We now have the geometry we need for the part that we're making, just one of these right here. This is how we do it. So this is one full height Lego. And again, that's to the highest point. that's to the tippity top of this thing right there, is flush with like one of these regular bricks. So when you set it up against it, it sits right there. Um, so this is what we got. Kind of excited about this. Um, so let's make this part with actual lines now. So I'm going to turn off um, my construction line, and I'm just going to outline this. And then I'm going to use a center point arc. Say from here to here. And I'm going to finish the sketch. Why did that go blue? That's interesting. Go back to that sketch. It didn't anchor that center point arc for some reason. So here we go. We're going to make that constrained to this. Now it's black. Perfect. Now I'm going to extrude this. Now again, we've got to think this is going to be extruded so that this is basically two Lego. It's, you know, two base, but it's already has the kerf removed. So this is going to be Lego base times 2 minus 2 times kerf. We're already removing that material. So there we have it. That is our part. It's a 2x2 piece that we're then going to create some geometry on this, and then we're going to basically cut it out using a revolve command. So that's kind of our next step, is we have a center line that we use, this origin, so we're going to create a profile, and then we're going to revolve cut that profile out so that it looks like this. So you can see it. It's got some slants on the side here. It's got this like kind of Batman looking profile going on. It's kind of hard to see from this view, but just trust me on this. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to come in here, and we're just going to basically draw out our lines. It's not the midpoint, so don't put that on the midpoint. We're going to come up. We're going to slide down here. We don't want any constraints. So if it's looking to put a perpendicular constraint there, we don't want it. So we're just going to kind of come in here. Those can be parallel. That's fine. And then this is going to come up. We don't want those to be parallel. You see that? It's trying to force a parallel constraint. We don't want that. And then we're going to bring this back over to here. Now, some things we do want. We want this to be equal to this. We want this to be equal to this. And we want this to be horizontally constrained to that. Okay? Those are the things that we want. And now we're just going to pull some dimensions from the part. These don't have to be perfect, so we're going to measure from here to here. That's not what we want. We want a dimensional tool. So how far off the surface does that angle start? And again, this isn't a critical dimension, but to me it looks like it's 0.245. So we're going to go 0.245 times scale, and that's where that starts. And then the two like bat ears, you call them that, what's their distance apart? So we're just looking and measuring how far apart those bat ears are. And they are roughly 0.374. So 0.374 times scale. It would be helpful if you pick the parts. 0.374 times scale, and that pushes those out. And then we want to measure this distance in between these two. And that distance is 0.305. So we can measure this. It's 0.305 times scale, and it should lock everything in, with the exception of the height from here to here. And we can measure that just by squeezing onto the part, back side here, and that looks like 0.337. 0.337 times scale. And there we have it. That is our profile. And now we can revolve these things about this axis down here. And we are going to do pull, cut. And it is going to cut that material for us. Now, that doesn't look right. So I'm going to recheck a couple measurements here on this. So that looks good. 0.240. And I'm just going to check some dimensions. 240. Might have messed up the one between the ears here. 0.390. Let's see. 390. $621. Just checking some numbers here. Okay, this looks a little better. Looking at it again. Yeah. Okay, I think this looks better. Yeah, it's not bad. We'll take it. Okay. Yeah, we're not going to take it. It still doesn't look right. So, I don't know. It just doesn't look right. I'm looking at it, and it doesn't look right for this part. So, 240. Is that what I got? I'm sorry. I'm trying to get this, looking good. Time scale. That looks fine. This just looks too... Like when I'm looking at it, either this looks higher or this looks further out. So... Because when it cuts, it doesn't look like this on this edge. You can actually see this come up a little bit. So I'm going to keep adjusting this a little bit until I get it the way I want. That's too high. Let's try this. That's looking better. And I'm just doing a quick check of all my numbers here, make sure we're good. So that looks fine. Yeah, that should be 0.270. I don't know what was I? It should be 0.270. I don't know where I got my number before on that. That looks better. See that? Has that little notch right there? That's what it should be. Okay, this looks much better. I'm much happier with this than what I had before. Again, it's really hard to kind of measure all these values just because there's no actual point to measure to on these. So I think we're good. This looks better on this. Cool. They also do a fillet on these two right here. It's small. It's like kerf times 2 or 3. maybe 6. Maybe that. Just to round those points over like that. Okay, now we could end this pretty easily. Literally, we could just go to the bottom here. We know what these dimensions are. So if I were to dimension this right here, this should be the point 1.882, and this should also be 1.882. So if you remember, those are the dimensions of a 2 by 2. Okay, 1.882. So we could, like, all we need to do is then put center marks here and here, and then we can put in our circles as if we had studs all the way around. Turn that origin off. Again, make them constrained here. Stud diameter, equal constraints between these. Symmetry constraints. Missed one. Okay, what did I miss? Oh, yeah, it would help if I dimension between the parts. So this is Lego base, and between these two parts, Lego base. There we go. Sorry. And then we're going to do our rectangle around the thing. So this is what we've done for all the parts, you know, to make this underside. So just showing you, this is kind of the minimal that we have to do. And then this is going to be a curve. Then we're going to put our circle out to here. Put our middle circle here. And then we're going to offset. This here is going to be curve times 5/4. And offset this one, curve divided by 2. And then when we finish our sketch, we can do an extrude of this, and do a negative hole depth. And there we have it. Like, this would work just fine for our purposes, because again, we're not going to be able to really have a see-through part like the actual Lego. So, you know, it kind of is what it is on this. The other thing that we could do is do a face offset of this right here by like negative curve divided by 2, just a small one. In this space might be beneficial, but this is good enough. The one that I did, I'll show you my other one, but I think I would just go with this plan right here. You know, to have the whole inside cut out is kind of, you know, your choice. But let me go back in time so we get our original one back here and show you what I did on this one. So I did my revolve here. So I'm going to come back in time. So here's this piece. Then revolve cut those. And then I just cut down just this block. I didn't worry about the center post yet because I wanted a face to draw this sketch on. So this was the new sketch that I drew. And when I drew that sketch there, I took the outside edge and I just made lines parallel with the same offset that this is, which is 0.185. But I dimensioned that, and then I made all these dimensions off of that the same. And then I did a revolve cut on this. So you can see I did a cut, and then I just changed the angle until I got really close to this edge line right here. Now I could have gotten a lot I could have gone closer, so I could have gone like 35.5 degrees or 4 degrees or whatever. But I just need to cut down into that space just barely. And I could have worked that number until I got it just right. So it looks like it's kind of point. Yeah, and that's pretty darn close. But I'm going to leave it at 35 so I don't mess up kind of what I did here. And then I did an extrude of that middle pillar from here to this rooftop. And then I added my chamfers all the way around, and then I added a couple of, the first fillet I did was on the tops. I take that back. I think this is fillet. It was on these walls there, and then the second fillet was on the top, on these tops here. So that's what I ended up doing for this part here. If you want to give that a shot, you're welcome to. But I think this right here is pretty darn good. If you were to change the material, so you can go to appearance and do like a light color glass, so you can see in the part. It's gonna look pretty good. But it's up to you. If you want to cut out the whole interior so that it looks like this and has more see-through, you can give that a shot as well. But that is our final piece. Our next video is we're going to show you how to assemble the whole kit. So we'll kind of give you a precursor of it, but this will be our next video, is getting it all together. Now that I have my last pieces, I'm going to put the rest of it together for you here. So we'll see you next time. Stop watching, start making, build something great today. We'll see you later.